this morning, and I was looking at the order book, and it was the nature of the sales that were coming across. People looking for sell orders. And it caused me to tweet it out, because normally at that time in the morning, if we have to have some, it's usually a narrative, it's usually a fundamental narrative that we see at that time in the morning, that we're usually looking for X or Y or Z to happen, and we do this or we do that in the US Open or the UK Open. But at 1:25 last night, 1:25, now bearing in mind we've got the BOJ coming up at 3 o'clock. So with the BOJ coming in at 3 o'clock, we're obviously aware that, if anybody's thinking there's going to be a surprise, we've talked about this before. The idea is that somebody somewhere is going to monetize that surprise, aren't they? Somebody somewhere is going to try and make some money out of that knowledge. So this is what caught me by surprise on this one. 1:25 in the morning. The market's usually dead, right? I mean, in terms of people trying to get certain prices, people trying to get certain elements, the market is usually stone cold. And obviously you finish off and you just say, thanks very much, it's been a good day, and you're done and dusted. But at 1:25 in the morning, I started to see some heavy offers, people trying to get a lot of business done into that top line. And obviously because of that, I just simply then looked in the background. You'll see that 1:25 in the morning was just in here. You see where my tweet is, 1:25 is just in there, right? Sellers had just came in on this pin, but they wanted an awful lot more on that trade, a lot more than the trade would give them. So I was watching that and I was very, very interested. Just watch that oil short, by the way, guys, because we're starting to see a wee bit of RBOB. We're starting to see a little bit of Voltics kicking off here. So when you see that, just make sure you put your little buy stop in behind it, just to book some monies if you're still short on that trade, just in case that's an active buyer coming straight back into the book here. Might just be some short coverings, but make sure you're aware of it. And obviously that's turned out to be a really nice little trade there, really nice little bit of business. Anyway, going back to this story. So 1:30 in the morning, aware of the Bank of Japan, not expecting anything from the Bank of Japan, as we haven't expected anything from the Bank of Japan for literally decades almost. And minus 0.1%, in line with expectations. There's not going to be any change to that. That's pretty certain. There was no movement in the GGBs. But then seeing these offers coming through, kind of, as I said, caught me by a little bit by surprise. So it caused me to tweet it out anyway. Something was catching my eye on this one, and we said that the dealers are actually starting to work off the offer side. Not the prop desks, the dealers. We're starting to see the dealers selling top edges at 25+1, and that's the order book that I saw coming through. The location of the trade was all Japan. Well, you'd imagine in the Asia Pacific session that most of the trade that's coming through is probably going to be Japan, right? But the fact there was so much of it coming from certain banks that are well known to have very, very close relationships. It's like Goldman's relationship to the Federal Reserve, you know what I mean? So certain banks that have got very close relationships with the BOJ were certainly starting to look at some sales. So I was starting to take a real genuine interest in this. And they kept it up here with this capper in place literally the whole morning. So they kept a capper there, then they took the capper into this area here, and they just kept selling it. They literally just kept selling it right through this whole phase. And then the BOJ came out, and this happened on equities. And it resulted in what was obviously a surprise, $2,400 maximum swing off a trade that I thought we were going to be rotating for about $500 top line, right? $500 top line I thought was what this trade was worth, maybe even $200 top line. But you know what? When you've got a catalyst coming up and you see something unexpected like this, you see some unexpected offers coming in with a catalyst coming in at 3 o'clock, you think to yourself, there's always that think at the back of your mind saying, I wonder if this is an insider that knows something about the BOJ. If it isn't, and it nearly always isn't. but it's obviously something that's showing up, and that something could just be a little bit of inside information that they're monetizing. So you pay attention to those, especially when you've got a catalyst that nobody's expecting anything from. So you pay attention to it. We've managed to get the sell on the books, and we've had a brilliant morning in the overnight session there. Brilliant morning in the overnight session. So what did they do? Well, the Bank of Japan tweaked what they call the YCC, which is yield curve control mechanism, which it changed from 25 basis points to 50 basis points. In other words, it meant that they could basically raise rates inside their yield control, your yield curve control. They could basically raise rates by 25 basis points without raising rates, if you like. Yeah. So it means that they've got a bracket that they can now increase rates without doing anything to the headline of minus 0.1. So it gives them that room to tighten the marketplace, which is kind of a surprise, obviously, that they did it. But you know what? It is what it is. It was a kind of surprise that they did it, but it gave us a brilliant sell trade. We made some great money. Obviously, bonds got tanked as well. Equities got tanked on the sell. We were already in equities. I wasn't in the bond, but we were already in the equities anyway. We tweeted it out for you so you could have seen it. And obviously, everything lined up just beautifully. So we kind of got lucky, but it is what it is. You sometimes make your own luck. On this occasion, we got lucky because it was a trade at 3 o'clock in the morning. So on that basis, obviously it's outside of our normal timelines. But because of those offers at 25 past 1, my attention was now drawn. I was now in interest mode. I'm interested. Something's caught my eye up here. And we weren't wrong, were we? We weren't wrong with this. And as I said, just the surprise of the Bank of Japan widening that band from 25 plus or minus to 50 plus or minus allows the Bank of Japan basically to raise rates by 25 basis points without changing their headline. It's a market tightening. And any kind of market tightening, of course, is a sell on equities, a sell on bonds. And that's why we got the big sell on equities, and that's why we got the big sell on bonds. Everybody understand it? Everybody make sense to everybody? Good stuff. Because that was a trade and a half, wasn't it? It was a trade and a half. Ed was on the Twitter saying that he managed to get a good chunk of that bit of business. So that was fantastic news. Yep, like it, love it. Love it, like it. So our equity got the bottom edge. A big order flow reversal into the bottom edge got me away from the sell entirely. Got me away from the sell entirely into the bottom edge. There was a big order flow transition which closed off my trade. And you'll see the order flow transition that closed off the trade here. It is incredibly clear. There it is there. You'll see the book changed bullish as this leg dropped down, and that was the exit price just into that storyline right in there. Do you see how nice and easy that was? Big change in the book, nice exit price, and a market reversal coming off that order flow flip. Straightforward? Very straightforward, right? So just seeing that order flow flip in that type of location, you've got to be aware of it. For me, it was an exit. For you, it could have been a long position. You could have liked it for a buy trade. The fast money up, the slow money down might have caught your eye. The fast acceleration on the last leg might have pushed you off the idea of it. But certainly the order flow reversal, the transition trade at the bottom edge certainly would have put you back on it at 32s. It certainly put me back on it for an exit and a nice buy side bounce. Just waiting for things to tie together. If they do, I'll be looking to do some business. How's that oil short doing, guys? The oil short we talked about earlier on. Remember we sold it twice at 43s. Remember the screenshot? Yes, you remember them now, don't you? There's the two screenshots. So the little oil short we sold into this 34 and 33s. You can see obviously that little short sell on oil doing relatively good business now to the downside. We've gone 34s, 33s down to a low price of 80s for $500. How the hell do you do? Nice? Yep. I'm happy. Happy enough with that outcome. Happy enough with that outcome. A little bit of a transition coming back in against the trade. I'm watching the order flow to see if it's time to clear away from that trade altogether, or whether to stick around for a little bit longer.